So let me hit that. All right. So how's everyone doing? I hope everyone is well. My name is Cara Ketchum, and if you don't know me, and I'm in the English department, and I am here with Ryan Melbard from Math, and we were actually asked by Community of Practice to do some type of Blackboard organization, just kind of throw out some ideas for everyone on how maybe to better organize Blackboard courses. But anyway, so we're just going to kind of start from there. I have a PowerPoint that we're going to be sharing, and hopefully I can figure out how to do that. And then I'm going to be flipping to one of my Blackboard shells from last semester, since that one's complete and ready to go and full of everything I want to show you. And then, of course, if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to ask. Okay, so let me see if I can go ahead and share, which is going to look really weird. Let's see. Wonder why this window share. I think that will work. I hope everybody can see that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was my first big feat in this whole thing, is being able to share something. Okay, so the purpose of this is pretty straightforward. We were asked to share how we both organize our Blackboard courses. So we're going to present you with a few organization ideas and how to use some of the features of Blackboard to make organization easier on both you and your students. And I think something that we really need to keep in mind here is that we can't assume that students know how to use Blackboard. We can't assume that they, even though we've had Blackboard a long time, even though it's pretty much a staple here, people should use Blackboard, there are still some instructors that don't use it as a primary mode of teaching. And so you can't assume that just because you teach a certain level course, the students coming into your course have already had all this exposure to Blackboard. And at the same time, even if they have had exposure to Blackboard, you can't assume that they know your organization, because we're all allowed some autonomy in the way we organize and structure our courses. And if we don't take that into account and teach our Blackboard courses just like we teach through and go through our syllabus every semester, then we're really doing a disservice to our students. So that's why this is important, and that's why we were asked just to share some of our ideas. Ryan and I both have very different ways that we organize Blackboard. So something that this is not going to do is it's not going to tell you how you have to organize your course. That's not the purpose of this. We haven't, gotten any mandates from anybody that this is what you must or must not do with your Blackboard courses. And we also aren't going to cover any basic Blackboard 101 stuff. So this is assuming that you are comfortable with Blackboard as your LMS for delivering course content. And we're just going to show you some different organization ideas. Okay. All right. So we all know that there's a required Blackboard content that we have to have. We have to have the top third, if you want to say on the bottom third of our Blackboard links on the left.
Cara, let me just interrupt here a second.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the slides advance. I'm not sure if we're doing that yet.
Oh, we're not?
Or I'm not seeing it on my screen yet.
Because I have advanced them. I've advanced all the way through. I wonder. You don't see anything move? Huh. Well, hold on a minute. I wonder what's going on. Let me see. We see the first slide now?
I see the first slide.
Okay, and then there's the next one.
Yep.
Okay, so if people flip through, they're good. So this is the one I was showing to start with. Did we even see that one? Oh, but you can't. Oh yeah, people are flipping through. Okay, well hold on. Hold on. Sorry about that. I thought I had mastered it and I actually didn't. But basically, I talked through all of this already. So if you want, this is the screen that I'm on now. So don't anybody flip it. Number 4. All right. Yeah, you can flip it. I know, but don't. You're going to throw me off. So there we go. Okay. So here I am now talking about the part of Blackboard that we can and basically can't mess with, and what is suggested that we do with it. And I would really like to go to my my screen if I can. I don't know if it's going to let me though. You probably can't see it now. Hold on. Let me go here. Nope. All right, let me see if I can share that now. Can people see this?
Cara, I'm still seeing the, wait. Yes, we can see that.
You can see my Blackboard page.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. All right. Anyway, what I was saying, and you can see me moving it and scrolling it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, we know that this part over here that starts with the announcement section of Blackboard and going down is something that we're not supposed to mess with, along with what's down here at the bottom. Everything in the middle here is what we have control over and where most of the issues come in as far as organization is concerned. But there are still ways to organize this information at the top. And just as an example, if you, and it's important, before I move on, it's important to teach your students your Blackboard shell. So it's not just, I mean, you go through the syllabus, we spend the first class going through the syllabus, most of us, and we need to also dedicate time going through our Blackboard shell and showing students where things are, showing students what's located where, and not just for online students. Like this goes for seated students as well. We should walk them through so they know how to use how we've organized our shell, because again, not everyone does it in the same way. So for example, if I click on course syllabus, underneath this section, I have course level objectives, and then I have my syllabus, and I have my course calendar. And students know that that's where they can go to get that information. If you just have your course syllabus in that section, that's fine. But where do you put your course calendar? Where do you have course level objectives? If they're already listed on your syllabus, they should be, that's fine. But it's nice to also have them listed elsewhere in Blackboard. It keeps everything more organized. And it's also a quality matters issue as well. I think Miss Becky Collins did a Quality Matters PD earlier this morning, which is a whole nother thing, but it's really good to keep the organization of your shell. Another thing that's important to teach students is the calendar section of Blackboard. I know a lot of people are confused with this, and I think Ryan is going to go over how to move away from the calendar or how to incorporate another calendar as well as Blackboard calendar later. But this is very important to understand that the students have the right to click here the different announcements that they want to see on their calendar. And anytime you upload a assignment and give it a due date, it's going to pop up on this calendar. So students are able to see monthly views and in their calendar and what's due when and how many classes they have, but show it to them, walk them through it, tell them to go through this list and click on all their classes that they have for this semester. And as you put in things in Blackboard, give them a due date. If you don't give them a due date, even if you just have an assignment link up there, if you don't give it a due date, it's not going to pop up on this calendar. And I think a lot of students are overwhelmed when they either see the calendar and there's nothing on it, or they see it and there's a bunch of stuff on it, but it could be classes from other semesters, or it could be other announcements, or you can see some different like groups announcements and things that they may not need or want to see. So it's very important that you go through, especially this section with them, and show them how to use it. It's right there on Blackboard. It's easy to use. Show them how to access it and show them how to click to see what they need to see and use this as a tool. So that's all I want to say about that. But moving on, whenever we look at, let me see, I want to look at these links here on this side of Blackboard, and this is where I want to get into a little bit of how I organize Blackboard. I think these are the major sections here on the left, where I have a start here link. I have a module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. However many modules that you have is fine, but you need to keep them organized in the same way. Don't switch it up and don't have a certain part organized this way and then the next module organized a completely different way. You have to keep it consistent so the students can learn how you're organizing. So for example, this is the way that I organize. It might not work for everyone, but my example is at the top of all of my modules, I have the module learning objectives, and I have them tied to the course objectives at the very top of every module page. So that's the first thing that the students see, so they're able to connect what I'm trying to teach them in this module and how that connects to what they need to learn for the course as a whole. And then I only have 3 folders. That's it. I have a read folder, a watch folder, and a do folder. And I know that that seems kind of silly, read, watch, do, but if they have to read anything for the module, it goes in their read folder. If they have to watch anything, whether it's a PowerPoint, a video, anything like that, any kind of media, it goes in the watch folder. And the same for the do folder. Anything that they actually have to do for me, any assignments at all, goes in that folder. And so, and I do the same setup, whether it's online or seated, because it just translates really easy to both. And there's no question. And of course, I set it up this way originally because with COVID and everything, if we had to move seated classes to online, I wanted to make sure that that was as seamless as possible. But actually, it kind of works anyway. So anything for read, and if I click into the read folder, assignment sheets, rubrics, any kind of sample, anything they need to read is in that folder. And if I click under watch for module 1, anything they need to watch, any kind of video, example, PowerPoint, anything is going to be in that folder.
Hey,
and
Cara,
then is there a question?
Yeah, there's just a request. I don't know if it's possible for you to show your Blackboard shell in student preview mode.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. All right, there we go. Let's go back to module 1. There we go. And so again, there's the read and watch and do, but let me go into the do, because that's where I was. So anything that I want them to do or submit to me is under the do folder. But here's where I try to make it a little easier for them. If you'll notice, I have the do folder in a continuous scroll mode. There aren't a bunch of other nested folders in this folder. And that can be where we think we're being hyper organized sometimes, but if you're too organized, sometimes things can get lost and we don't know what folder things are in. And we go to this one folder, but then there's 5 other folders and then we can't find it. And while that might make some sense to us, because we know the content so well, we know exactly how it's organized, you have to think of it as a student coming in brand new to this content. They don't know how things are organized. So when you have too many nesting folders, it's more confusing. So that's why I just have any of the assignments that they need to do is just in a continuous scroll. But you'll notice in the submission link in the title, I have the due date. So it's a continuous scroll, but it also ends up being in chronological order. So they've completed this, they're going to scroll, this one's due 9/5, so is that, but then this not due till 9/12 or 9/9 and then 9/12, and then this was due 9/19, so is this 9/19. So as they go through, I have due dates in the actual submission link. So that also helps them, because since I put a due date actually in the assignment, it shows the Blackboard calendar, but also they're in the due folder, they can see where they are and they can see what was due, and they know if they missed it and they know what comes after it because it's all in the same order. Okay, so that's just how I do all of my modules. And if you go click into module 2, it's set up the same way. I have learning objectives and then a read, watch, and do folder. Same thing for module 3, same thing for module 4. I don't switch it up depending on different modules, because it all works. You have something to read for each module, watch for each module, you have assignments to do for each module.
Cara,
yeah.
Quick question came up asking you, do you release all the information at once, or how much can the students see? I mean, do they have access
Yeah, that's
to
a good question. I do not release it all at once. So especially obviously in the do folder, they can only see what they have to do for that week. So like, for example, this first week here, when they click in the do folder, this was all they could see. Just this one assignment that was due on August 29th. And then now I have all these available, but of course on my side of Blackboard, I have them hidden. And then when I open up the next week's worth of work, it appears under last week's work, but it's brand new. So things get added as they need them. And that is a really good question, because for example, when my shells go open tomorrow, they're going to be able to see the start here link. They will not be able to see the module 1, module 2, module 3, they will not be able to see these links, because I don't open it if they don't need it yet. And that's another idea of not trying to overwhelm them and trying to teach them Blackboard. So I will do a video that goes through this top information and then the start here information. And then the next week, I'll do a video that goes over the module 1 setup. And I'll tell them that every module will be set up this way. And so I never have to reteach that as long as I keep consistent. So that's a really good question. Any other questions?
There were a few other comments here. Some people are talking about putting in the deadlines into the activity links themselves, so that students can see what the deadline is when they do the activity.
Yeah, and I also have, like, for journal assignments or discussion board assignments, I have these directly linked. So like if I click this, the students will get to the journal, or they can go over here and click the journals link and also get to the journal. But I try to make everything accessible in this do folder. So this is the only place they have to go to. They don't have to go click on discussion board first to access this discussion board. They can just click right here and it takes them there. All right, so let me see now if I can get out of this and go back to where I was. Let me see. All right, so basically, this is what I showed you and how to nest folders. And then these are just kind of, my time is kind of done. So I just really want to, this is what I want you to take away from this, okay? Students need a walkthrough at the very beginning of the course to understand how you're organizing your Blackboard shell, regardless of how you do it. You could think that my way just does not resonate with you, it does not work with you, but maybe looking at the way I did it helps you come up with something different that does work with you. Then organize your Blackboard shell that way. However, do it consistently throughout the entire course. Teach it to them and then stay consistent. And like I said earlier, I think this would go for seated and online classes. Keeping the organization, and I even keep this organization from my 111s to my 112s. Like, I just think, because sometimes, you know, we all have those students that will follow us from one class to the next, And while we think they may need to spread out and visit, other classes, I still think it's important that when they see my 112, even though the module content is completely different than my 111, they still see the read, watch, and do folders. They still see that setup, and it's consistent. And I think that's what's really important to help them grasp being able to work with Blackboard and do it successfully. Okay, so any other questions or comments or anything for me? All right, then I'm going to turn it over to you, Ryan, so you can share your expertise.
All right, thank you, Cara. Appreciate that. Let me see if I can share that screen.
It wasn't amazing. That was awful, but
Hey, John.
It worked out okay.
It was fine. On the receiving end, it was fine.
Okay, so let me click here.
Thank you for doing that.
The slide that I'll start with. So basically what I wanted to do to finish up the training was to talk through a few different things, specifically looking at alternative ways of grouping your course materials. I'll show you what my course looks like, and then talk about this thing. It's an HTML tool. It's called an iframe that lets you embed some materials into your course. So it gives you a different way to use Blackboard. And building on what Cara was talking about, I wanted to stress this idea of breaking your course up into some type of logical groupings, whether it's modules or lessons, units, weeks, topics, but try to be consistent again with that throughout the whole semester. Don't do the first half of the class with lessons or units and then finish the last half of the class going week by week by week, okay? Because that'll just cause confusion within the students. But part of what I like about a training like this is you really get to see, you might think, well, my way is the only way, until you start to see, well, this is a different way to do it. You see somebody else's course and it's like, yeah, that makes sense too. But again, we're not trying to say you must do it this way. We're just presenting some ideas to you so that maybe you can think about building your course a different way. So the third part right here, it says be consistent so that students can see the pattern. So for example, the top one there says notes, videos, quizzes, and tests. That's what I'll do in my class. Another class, right, what did we just do? The read, learn, and do, right? There's readings, activities, tests. Pick something that works for your class and repeat that again and again and again so that the students start to feel that level of comfort, okay? Let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll just show you the course rather than showing slides a bit. All right, just give me a second. Okay, so share screen. Let me click on this and see if this works. Okay, if somebody could confirm that they're able to see my screen, maybe Cara, if you could say it, because I can't see the.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a picture of what the students will see when they get into my Math 172 course this semester. And what I want to spend some time talking about is the difference in how this is set up, because what I'm using here is referred to as an iframe, and it allows me to embed Google Documents, Google Sheets, PDFs right into the course, so that the students have a different way of viewing content that I feel like it actually makes it look more like a website rather than the traditional Blackboard. I'm not a big fan of how Blackboard groups things together and the way that the icons look, and I feel like if it looks more like a website with links and little areas to click, my hope is that the students will feel more comfortable in an already uncomfortable situation for them trying to learn math online. So along the left-hand side, so again, the announcements page is at the beginning, and we'll talk about what these iframes are in a little bit, but here's what the announcements would look like, right? So there's already 2 announcements for the students to read. And then what we can do is just go on here. And what I like about the iframe is I can be in the course and just be typing and adding an announcement just as easily as I'm doing right here. You should be able to see that being added. I don't know what to type here. Okay, so there's my announcement for today. But what's neat is if I have several sections of this course, I can make this document shared between all the different sections all at once, okay? And so I only have to type the announcement once. I can have a Google Doc that has all of my announcements from a previous course, and I can copy them over one by one, saving me a lot of time, so I don't have to be retyping these again and again and again. On the left-hand side, besides the announcements, there's the course syllabus. And so I like that it's set up here as a PDF. So the students shouldn't have any trouble viewing it. They can download it, they can print it. It'll be in just the standard form. So we'll talk about how to load that syllabus so it looks like you know, a PDF form. Specifically for the calendar, so I really make sure to tell my students I don't use the Blackboard calendar. I stress that in my announcements at the beginning of the semester. I tell them again and again and again. I tell them my video welcome message at the beginning. I said all course information is going to be listed here. And so what I find neat is I can now break up throughout the entire semester and tell them, you know, here's what you should be doing on each of these days. And so I don't actually require them to every single day go into the course, but it does list the due dates and they have to complete the work by those due dates. So it breaks it down into small chunks that the students can do. Okay, here's what I need to do on the 5th. Here's what I need to do on the 6th. A couple things that I've noticed is you do need to remind students what a spreadsheet is. Tell them the idea of columns and rows. I've had students not know that they can scroll up or down on a spreadsheet before to see more entries. I've had a student tell me, second week of class, how come you don't have any more entries on your calendar besides the first 4 days? It's like, oh, well, you need to scroll down, okay? When you do that, though, of course, try to lock your top row so that they can always see the class date section and what they'll do that day.
Ryan, we do have a question.
Yes.
It's asking, are you sharing a view-only document?
It's set up in, yeah, it's in view only, and that's a setting that you can put into the Google Docs or Google Sheets. So I can edit this live, but the students can't.
Okay, and it's Google Docs. You created it in Google Docs, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And this whole system with the iframe probably can be used with other cloud-based services, but I've found that just seems to work best if I use you know, Google Docs. And as long as you have a Gmail account, you already have Google Drive set up, and you can just make these files. And I'll show you with some slides in a little bit what that would look like for how you share these and get the links and where you put the information in.
Thank you.
Yep, along the left-hand side, here's how I break up my course. So I don't have module 1, module 2, module 3. Instead, students know that they're working in unit 1, because I'll stress that again and again and again. We're in unit 1, unit 1, unit 1. And so they're looking for all the references for unit 1. So if I tell them to look at unit 1 notes or unit 1 videos, on the left-hand side, towards the bottom, it says notes, videos, and labs. And here's all my notes and videos and labs for unit 1. And when they click on that, here's an example of a Google Doc then, and I just reuse this semester to semester. So if they know that they're starting with syllabus intro and then moving on to angles, so I kind of repeat the pattern of notes, videos, and a lab, right? There's more videos, there's more notes, videos, notes, and videos. And so the students download the note sheet and then can watch any of the 5 videos that present the material from that particular note sheet. And so I just work those problems out using my document camera. Once they're done with this, then they'll go to the homework submission. And again, here's the Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. So unlike how Cara did it, my entire course is available to the students all on day 1. But personally, I like that because then nothing changes for the students. If, you know, the view stays the same from week to week to week, they'll know once they're done with Unit 1, then they would have to click on Unit 2. And then when they click on this, then they've got the space right here to see where they submit all their homeworks. The only thing that's hidden are the links to the tests. I just make sure that they can't take a test before they're ready. Let me click stop sharing here for a minute, and I want to go back to the slides and show you how we would do this iframe. Let's see, so share files. 1 second while I get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so you should be able to see the PowerPoint slides again. So what is an iframe? So an iframe is HTML code that lets you embed a document, so a PDF file, a Google Doc, right into your course. And so why would we want to use that? We'd want to use an iframe because it makes the course materials potentially more exciting, enriching, right? You can more easily add pictures and links. You can have different fonts, you can have different backgrounds on your file, okay? So it makes it just a little bit, I would think, more exciting to look at. You can more easily update and create announcements, as well as course content, and you can do it remotely. So I can have my Google Drive open and be updating materials for the website without even being inside my BlackBoard course. Because it makes it easier to update things, I can do it more quickly, and therefore I tend to want to update things more often. Okay, if I knew every day I had to log into the course site and go to the announcements page for each of the 4 individual courses and make an announcement there, I probably wouldn't make an announcement each day. But because I'll have the tab open on my computer and all I have to do is type a couple sentences without logging in, I can more easily make a short announcement every day, therefore being more engaged with the students more often. Some tips and ideas. So I mentioned have announcements pre-made. So I have a Google Doc where I save upcoming announcements. So if I know that I want to tell the students something next week, I'll make myself an announcement in my upcoming announcements file and then just copy and paste it over as needed. So here are some quick steps for how to make a viewable PDF, like for your syllabus. And again, I'll be happy to share these PowerPoint slides with anybody. So if I do run through this a little bit faster, I apologize. But hopefully it should make a little bit more sense for you here to see what we're doing. So step 1, create a PDF version of your syllabus. So this should be something everybody has. Step number 2, create a blank, like a blank page in your course. So if you're not familiar with how to do this, your course has to be in edit mode, but in the top left corner, click there's a little plus button and you can choose blank page. And when you do that, it opens a page with a text editor. And when you do that, specifically, it's got a spot where you can type in this iframe code. So I'll share that iframe code with you on the next page. For the syllabus and the PDF, because the syllabus is something that doesn't change, I don't mind saving it as a PDF because it's going to be, it's not a file I need to update. So I upload it to the course once at the beginning of the semester. It's not like the announcements page that I want to change again and again and again, okay? So I'll upload the PDF onto the course content. So on the left-hand side within your course, if you look at where it says content collection and then click on the course name, you can upload your PDF there. And when you do, then you can do a right click on that And when you do a right click on it, it brings up this thing called a 360-degree view. And the reason you want to look at that is it then lets you copy the URL, the link, okay? That's the path that Blackboard uses to find the PDF. And so it's shown here. You want to use this thing called the permanent URL, and you copy the last little part of it. And that's what you put into that source code on your web page. Yep, Mariah will definitely share this by email. So yeah, don't worry. You don't have to. It'll while it looks a little complex now, when you go through slide by slide by slide, I think it should be it should make a little bit more sense. So anyways, if you look at step number 8, these 2 steps are actually out of order as I made this. You'll notice where it has all this code. It has, padding and positions and iframe widths and heights. Do I know what that means? No, not really. Okay, it's just a lot of code, except what I found is that this works whether I'm embedding a PDF, whether I'm embedding my calendar or the announcements or anything else. All you have to do in capital letters, it says your path here. Okay, and so you just replace that with that the path that we found from that previous slide where it says relative URL or whatever it was. Okay, you just copy and paste that in there, and then simply hit save, and then suddenly you've got a PDF that you can view on your course page.
Now, Ryan, we have
Yes.
another question. I don't know if you noticed, but you know how you were talking about announcements and how you update them on the Google Docs, and it automatically updates, in Blackboard. But when you post an announcement in Blackboard, you have the option of automatically, like, you can email it to all the students. When you update this Google Doc, though, to update an announcement, will it automatically email the student, or will you have to go back in there and?
No, so good question. It won't automatically email the student. And one thing that I do is I tell students that in general, I don't ever email them anything. And that's, again, just personal preference for how people want to run their course. For some reason, with the math courses and probably all of Blackboard, so like over the course of the semester, I've got like 30 different assignments. And if I make a small change to one of them, it'll send out an email for every single one saying, there's a new assignment, there's a new assignment, there's a new assignment, right? And so from Blackboard, for some reason, students get so many useless emails for my course. This is due, this is due. The reason I have the announcements page on the course is I don't want to email them. I want them to get in the habit of every single day looking at that announcements page, which is the launch page or landing page of my course. And then I always put the newest announcement on top so they can very quickly go in and see the announcements without actually having to be emailed anything. So good question. Yep, the students do seem to be bombarded with those emails, and if I can make it so that they get fewer of them, that's a good day for me then. Here's some pictures of things that you need to know if you try to use Google Drive for your Google Docs or the Google Sheets. So again, if you have a Gmail account, you automatically have this. Talk to me if you need help getting started with it, but otherwise just do a Google search, and I'm sure there's some instructions. Once you have the file saved in your Google Drive, if you do a right click on it, there's 2 properties you want to look at. One is the share option, and the other is the get link. And actually, if you click on both of those, it takes you to the same place anyways. And so looks like somebody else is clicking on slides here. Okay, so if we click on that share or that get link, there was a question earlier about, well, can anybody see this? Can anybody change it? You do want to make sure that your file, that Google Drive or Google Sheets, is shared, because even if it looks good on your web page, it might not look good on the student's web page. And the only way to know is if there's a little symbol showing that you've shared that file. Okay, so technically these are public files. Anybody with this link can get to it, except I only post the link on our private course page. So I feel like it's pretty private. Technically, there's nothing there that the public wouldn't, be able to read anyways. So anyways, you want to look for that little symbol next to the file name to make sure that you're sharing that with people. And then also notice on this page where it says get link, it's got https docs.google.com. That's the URL that you'll copy and paste into that iframe code that ultimately gets put into your course page. Okay, so that's where you would go to get the link to your file. And then you can just add that into your course. So this is just another page, again, showing that iframe HTML code. You'll notice on this, I'll see if I can highlight this in blue. I don't know if you're able to see, but notice where it says source equals, and it's this big, long URL. That's the link to this particular file. And then you can copy and paste that right in, and everything's good. So one last thing, using the calendar, I do want to caution you, if you do use your calendar, please make sure that you again remind your students that you're not using Blackboard calendar. So if you're using your own calendar that you make, let them know that they shouldn't be relying on Blackboard calendar. Even if I try to hide the Blackboard calendar, they can still get to it in their other classes. So it's very important that you just remind them, hey, every day look at what it says to do in the course calendar that I've updated for them, and not what the Blackboard calendar says, okay? But the benefits of using your own calendar is you can add as much information to it as you want. Give all the instructions, say, right within the calendar, I can give the homework assignment down to which problems on which page they should be doing. And it just makes it a nice place where I can upload it, and then to me, the neat thing is I can copy that from one semester to the next. All I have to do is change the dates, and everything then is, all the rest of the information is the same. All that I need to change are the dates as then I start the new semester. So I think that's pretty much all I have. I see that we're just about out of time. I'd like to save just a few minutes here for questions, if there are any more questions. Anybody?
Okay, well, all right. Well, thank you all so much.
Ryan, it's Dan.
Yes.
Hey, do you use the same online setup as you do for your seated classes?
Good question. So right now, I've got Math 171 both online and in the hybrid format. And for my hybrid class, what I specifically do is have them watch all the videos outside of class. And then when we come to class, we actually go through some materials together. So anyways, for my hybrid students, they would see the same course website, the same calendar, with a couple small adjustments. So yeah, anyways, to answer the question, basically, it is the same thing for my.
Now, do you have any fully seated classes?
Not at the moment.
Would you use the same template for the fully seated?
I would use the same template, but the calendar probably wouldn't have quite as much information, and I'd have to then decide how much of the course videos I'd share with them, and perhaps then our tests would be face-to-face instead of being online. So there would be some adjustments, but yes, I'd still do the announcements the same way if it was a seated class.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, guys. That was great.
Yeah, thanks for attending.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I guess that's all.